For over 2,000 years, America has served as a place of refuge for Old World communities driven from their homes by conquest or persecution. Barry Fell, Saga America. Barry Fell, 1917 to 1994, was a Harvard professor of invertebrate zoology. His claim to fame, however, comes from his research and books, which, in my mind, prove pre-Columbian contact between the Old World and the New World. His books, America BC and Saga America, are must-reads in my opinion. In Fell's book, Saga America, he asserted, a curious clay tablet found in a rock crevice near Big Bend, Texas, apparently tells us that Zoroastrians, followers of Mithraic sun worship, came once to America, seemingly from Iberia, though whether as refugees or not, we cannot tell. Zoroastrianism is an ancient Iranian religion that might date as far back as 3,500 years. Some believe it was the first monotheistic religion. Zoroastrianism is one of the oldest organized religions in the world and first appeared in the written record around 6500 BCE. Zoroastrianism hit its stride over 2,000 years ago, but with Christianity and later Islam coming onto the scene, the ancient religion has been on a steady downhill slide. Today, there are only about 100,000 Zoroastrians in the world, mostly in India. Wikipedia describes the key features of Zoroastrianism in the following way. It has a dualistic cosmology of good and evil within the framework of monotheistic ontology and an eschatology which predicts the ultimate conquest of evil by good. Zoroastrianism exalts an uncreated and benevolent deity of wisdom known as Ahura Mazda as its supreme being. Historically, the unique features of Zoroastrianism, such as its monotheism, messianism, belief in free will and judgment after death, conception of heaven and hell, angels and demons, among other concepts, may have influenced other religions and philosophical systems, including the Abrahamic religions and Gnosticism, Northern Buddhism, and Greek philosophy. So, with all that in mind, Fell's claims about Zoroastrians in Big Bend is a pretty big deal if true. The story of the mysterious Big Bend tablet goes back to 1962 when Donald Uzel discovered the tablet in a cleft among a cliff near Hot Springs. The tablet consisted of 11 fragments stacked on top of one another. Uzel handed the fragments down to members of his party, which included his wife Reva and Charles and Bernice Nichols. The group assembled the fragments, and the Nichols took color transparency slide photographs of the assembled tablet. Once pieced together, the fragments told an interesting story. According to Barry Fell, it is written in a variant of Libyan alphabetic script, except for the repeated refrain in line 6, which uses first Lycaon, then Lydian letters to repeat the word given in Libyan on line 5. The upper section reads left to right, the part below the horizontal broken line, each line reversing its direction. The approximate translation is 1. Why this suffering? 2. Oh, what anguish. 3. A call to prayer, 29th December, year 6. 5. Heal us. 6. Heal us, heal us. 7. The faithful are beset. 8. By sorrow. Guide, O Mithras. 8. Show forth. 9. Thy strength. 10. Promise of aid. 11. As revealed by 12. Ahura Mazda. The lower section appears to be a quotation copied from some other document. This evidence of Mithraianism is of interest in view of the apparent Mithraic religion of the lower Mississippi tribes as described by early French travelers. Obviously, the idea of Zoroastrians in Texas cuts against the grain of mainstream reasoning. So it is only fitting for the National Park Service to chime in on the matter and attempt to discredit the notion. Former Big Bend Superintendent Ross A. Maxwell had this to say in his book, Big Bend Country. Donald Uzel and others found the mystery tablet in a small cave-like cleft in rocky ledges along the banks of Tornillo Creek, a short distance above where that creek enters the Rio Grande at Hot Springs in Big Bend National Park. The discovery was made during January 1962. Events leading to this discovery and related incidents with photographs of the tablet were reported by Bernice and Jack McGee in 1972. The McGees stated that when found, the tablet was in pieces which were stacked upon each other in the sheltered cave, about 30 feet above the present stream bed. When the pieces were removed and fitted together, the tablet contained more than 70 characters of a mystery language. The tablet appeared to have been made from Tornillo Creek mud. When found, the material was dry, hard, and showed very little weathering. After photographing the tablet, and before leaving the park, the Uzel party reportedly gave it to a park naturalist. The tablet lay in the naturalist's office for several months until it disintegrated into powder. Several authorities in language and history have studied the photographs of the tablet. Some believe the inscription to be very similar to a very old Greek alphabet. Others suggest that some of the Greek characters were mixed with another language, perhaps Phoenician or Hebrew. Opinions as to the significance of the tablet by those who saw it in the park naturalist's office and by those who studied the photographs varied from great antiquity value to those who suggested the characters were made by a child doodling in the mud with a stick. Talking with people who were children in the Hot Springs area prior to 1964 lends support to the doodling explanation. So, let me get this straight. Kids doodling with sticks in the mud somehow created characters of known alphabets from the ancient world. Okay, sure. Before getting too invested in the Big Bend tablet story, you have to understand that the National Park Service and other government entities, the Smithsonian Institute for instance, are under perhaps unspoken but very real directives not to rock the boat. Long-held dogma reigns supreme. This might be why vast sections of the Grand Canyon are off limits to the public. A portion of this federal land, as taxpayers, our land, quite possibly holds the remnants of a lost city. This lost city has ties to the old world. For more on this, watch my video about a lost city in the Grand Canyon. Anyhow, if the Park Service is going out of its way to keep the public from learning the truth about Egyptians in Arizona hundreds of years before Columbus set sail, then you can damn sure bet they're going to do all they can to discredit the Big Bend tablet. It's par for the course. Writing for the National Park Service's Big Bend website, Thomas Alex penned an article titled "The Fantasy, the Saga, and Some Truth." Out of the gate, Alex mocks those who believe the tablet is genuine. In the opening line of his piece, he wrote, "Over the years, the subject of the Big Bend tablet resurfaces on social media, and it often evokes radical opinions that run counter to truth, verging on total fantasy." In Alex's article, he attempts to discredit the Big Bend tablet by casting doubt on Barry Fell's credentials. Alex wrote the following regarding Fell's translation of the tablet. This translation was provided by Barry Fell from Harvard. It should be mentioned that Barry Fell was a marine biologist who had a hobby of fascination with ancient languages, but was not a language expert. So, Fell was not a language expert. Okay, for the sake of argument, I'll accept that. However, if he was right, he was right. It doesn't matter which degrees he held or from which school he obtained them. And besides, I don't care about that sort of thing anyway. But back to the matter at hand. It's entirely possible the Big Bend tablet is fake. It wouldn't be the first forged artifact, and it certainly won't be the last. I don't buy Ross A. Maxwell's kids doodling with a stick explanation, though. I mean, for the life of me, I'll never understand the hang-up folks have about pre-Columbian contact in the Americas. I mean, come on. If the mainstream can accept that Polynesians in canoes paddled for 2,000 miles and settled in Hawaii, why couldn't these same Polynesians have also landed in Peru, Chile, Ecuador, Mexico, or California? Seriously, how can anyone believe in these epic Polynesian canoe rides but scoff at the idea of Phoenicians, Romans, and Chinese reaching the New World? You're telling me these great maritime cultures could not have set up outposts and even colonies in the New World? Come on, man, you gotta do better than that. Way before this, seafarers from the fabled lost world of Atlantis, or at least some other lost world, a mother culture, if you will, were in both the old and new worlds with colonies and outposts. To me, this is proven by the similarities in religious practices, building techniques, and various motifs that had to have sprung from a common legacy culture. And even if we accept that old world travelers were not hopping between ports in the Americas, they still might have gotten lost and came here. Shipwrecked sailors could have run aground on this strange land. Perhaps they left behind tablets, runestones, and coins. Case in point, Cabeza de Vaca wandered through Texas after becoming shipwrecked. Cabeza de Vaca was one of only 4 men who survived the ill-fated Panfilo de Narvaez expedition that began in 1527. The expedition, which set out from Santo Domingo in the present-day Dominican Republic, was doomed from the beginning. 2 ships were lost in a hurricane before even reaching Florida. The expedition force landed near Sarasota Bay and suffered through sickness and disease, impoverishment, and Indian attacks as they set about exploring and searching for gold. With the number of men down to 242, after beginning with a force of about 600, expedition leadership decided to construct rafts and sail to Mexico. Only 80 men survived the raft trip. However, they did not reach Mexico. They landed on Galveston Island off the coast of modern-day Texas. The natives enslaved the survivors, and most died from the harsh conditions. Cabeza de Vaca, Alonso del Castillo Maldonado, Andreas Doriantes de Carazano, and his slave Esteban escaped captivity and wandered the southwest for years. De Vaca and his traveling companions trekked through the Big Bend paralleling the Rio Grande. They followed the river to its confluence with the Rio Conchas near the present-day Mexican border town Ojinaga. Eventually, the men made their way into Mexico City, where they were greeted as heroes by the Spanish settlers there. The point of this illustration is to ask why similar scenarios could not have played out many times over in the Americas. After all, that can explain strange tablets, coins, and other artifacts, rather than simply ignoring the finds. And it might explain the mysterious markings inscribed on the Big Ben tablet better than kids doodling with a stick.